Welcome to News Laundry Interviews. I am Shardool, and today we have with us Rituparna Chatterjee, a journalist, a writer, and former foreign correspondent for the Economic Times in the US. She now writes a column titled California Dreaming, Life as an Immigrant Mother in America for ET. She joins us from Santa Clara, California, which is the Bay Area, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right.
Right. So we're here to talk about her new book, The Water Phoenix, a memoir of childhood abuse, healing, and forgiveness, published by Bloomsbury. For me, it is an account of facing and ultimately recovering from years of abuse. So hello, Rituparna. Welcome to News Laundry Interviews.
Hello, Shardool. Lovely to be here.
So in the book, I noticed, because I want to address this in the beginning, I noticed that Alice in Wonderland story helped you process what was happening around you. And it was a big part of how you saw the world.
That's right.
So was this some sort of coping mechanism? And how helpful was it?
You know, those books like Alice in Wonderland or your Sherlock Holmes, they're called classics because they have stood the test of time. There's something timeless about them, though I feel every book is timeless in its own way. Well, when I first read Alice in Wonderland, what happened is that I felt I was a lot like Alice because there's all this magical stuff happening. And Alice in Wonderland is actually a horror story. She's going through one horror after another, and she's supposed to behave while the grown-ups can do whatever they want, like, the queens go off with their heads, and poor Alice has to behave, and she wants to take the pack of cards. So to me, that felt exactly like my life, that the grown-ups could do whatever they wanted.
So, as you said, it was a coping mechanism. But what are other coping mechanisms that you or other victims can use?
My sincere wish is to have a world in which we did not have to cope. When we are little, I think it's important to hold on to the magic and the essence of who we are. And for me, I was very lucky to have so much time on my own and less conditioning. It sounds terrible. I didn't have a mother, but mothers tend to be the biggest conditioners. So I didn't have any religion. I didn't have anything. I literally, I drowned into books. It saved my life. My imagination saved my life. I wrote to imaginary people. I wrote to the caterpillar in Alice, and I love the Cheshire Cat. I wrote to both of them. So all of these things, they all had to do with a very vivid imagination, which is something all kids have until it's slowly sucked out with studies and behave like this, and this is right, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. It's endless. So I think that is the greatest coping mechanism, nature and books.
I wanted to ask this later because it comes later in the book, but you brought it up. So in the chapter, The Obsidian Fish Bowl, you talk about hearing other women at the wedding, at a wedding, learning about hidden abuses and sorrows of others. The chapter is, I think, and it's a great chapter. How do you look at the environment today, or differences in the environment where you grew up compared to where your children are growing up?
The difference is night and day, and I think the India of today is also very different. See, what happens is when small things like divorce is becoming more rampant, it's all connected. It's the same society. Or, we see more gay love stories. So all these things together open up, and that validates children also more. I think parents are a little more tuned in. I think Indian society is trying to catch up, but it'll take a generation or two. And it's not that there isn't any incest here. There is a lot of incest and abuse here, and in the teenage years, because so many kids come from broken homes and they get into abusive relationships.
And not many people would be aware that your first book was on the life of actor Nawazuddin Siddiqui. How did you meet him? How did that? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I just want to say, how did that book come to be?
I was doing a story in general. This was, I'm guessing, 2015. I was doing a story in general on, Masan had come out, and everyone was calling it like a little bit like the French New Wave, the Indian New Wave of cinema, because what was different were these were low-budget films that were being accepted by the masses as well as, abroad. And then I get a call from an editor at Penguin Premanko, a good friend of mine, saying, oh, why don't we explore some ideas? So I just interviewed Tigmanshu Dhulia. And he called him saying this girl, USA. I don't know why that just opened up a lot of doors, because they don't trust anybody. As a celebrity, you're so vulnerable, and everyone wants to come to you for something. But I don't know, that's the world also they create. So it's both ways. So, and I think he saw that I wasn't part of, I wasn't a proper critic, and I wasn't part of that world. And so I think he saw something very pure in the intention. And that's why he said yes. And it was, I think it was a very, very necessary book. I hate the controversy it ran into, but because that was like 1.5 pages of the book.
You must have felt horrible when it was taken off the shelves.
It was terrible. And of course, I didn't comment anything. I didn't say, no comments to the media and everything. It helped being here and being in a world of children. It's terrible because you're getting sued. I don't have that kind of money. Why would I be in the field if I did? Moving
on from Nawazuddin, let me pick up on something. An important part of this book is making yourself vulnerable to the healing process. But before we address that, you talk about suicide, and I'm sure you're aware of the Sushant Singh suicide and the media circus which happened around it.
Yes.
People are still not comfortable in talking about suicidal tendencies and mental health issues in India. And there's a chapter about it, Seppuku, in the book. It's the shortest chapter, but I think it's a very important one. Yes. How did you reconcile with suicidal thoughts, and what helped?
My first suicide attempt was at age 6. There's a whole chapter to that, but it was, and I think because I was not conditioned enough, I was always way too innocent for my age. And that, at the way that there's a Hindi word for it, shana. That is very Bombay Hindi. I wasn't at all, and things might have turned out very differently, because that's what happens to most abused kids. The only way out is, of course, love and connection and understanding, and people not saying that don't be suicidal. Say that, okay, now that's what I always tell to whoever has come. I totally get it. If you're suicidal, that is the most normal reaction. But imagine you have died. Now what?
Yeah.
Then what? So, and very often I think that question throws them off, and that's because I'm such an expert on it.
The book says, making yourself vulnerable to the healing process and acceptance it brings for the, probable future where you again might get hurt.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So how can a victim process his or her feelings and decide to reach that stage that today I'm here? How can they do that? What helped you?
It didn't happen overnight. I think what really healed me is honestly love, to be, but it's not about external love as much as how much you love yourself. And that's not as simple as buying yourself, whatever is the latest, fanciest gadget or clothes or car. Loving yourself is a tough job. So every time you feel a negative emotion or even a positive emotion, you sit with yourself and you stay present with yourself. And I did a piece for Mumbai Mirror on very recently on writing as therapy, on the healing effects of writing. So what writing about how you're feeling, gibberish, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct, anything at all. It helps you stay present with that emotion. If you have not fought that emotion, it often just runs its course and goes away. And the more and more you do this, soon you don't have to write.
Mufat khoro, muft mein itna hi milega. To watch the full unedited interview, you have to subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free. Because when the public pays, the public is served. We depend on you and not on advertisers. So go to www.newslaundry.com/subscription and subscribe and get all our unedited interviews, our special video shows, comics, and everything that's behind the paywall. Remember, to subscribe to News Laundry, you pay just about 10 rupees a day. That's less than, a cigarette, and smoking is injurious to health. So subscribe and watch the full interview.